Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. And recording. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're doing something a little bit different tonight on Star Let's Chat. This is session 39, brought to you as always by Mobility Tape, the only heat-activated kinesio tape out there and on the market. My glasses are fogging up. We're following COVID rules. This is on site in Petawawa, Ontario at BC Athletic Therapy. Our guest this evening is Victoria Cleary. And before we start, I'm just going to take you on a little walk through the clinical space. So we're at the front door as we have nice little COVID station, welcoming station over here, a beautiful welcome and art display that I was just learning about when we came through the space, and then a nice wide open clinical space, multiple practitioners in here, plenty of athletes, military personnel come through here with regularity, multiple clinics, and then this is where it's going to get weird on video. Because now we're kind of in the same room. And then over here, we have another practitioner's room over yonder. And then I'm going to pop up to another room so that we can be in separate rooms with our masks off. And we'll meet Victoria, get her story, and get to know this area and a practitioner that are quite paralleled, if you ask me. Hidden gems up here in Petawawa, Ontario. The space, the part of the province, and certainly the practitioner as well. So Victoria, welcome to introduce yourself and kind of give us a background in your story, and we'll go from there. Oh, I think you got to unmute. I think you're muted somewhere on there. Can you see it? I can come back down there with my mask on if needed. Let me get, yeah. No, but I'll pop right back down. 1 second. This is the benefit of having two people in one place. Look at this. Here we go. This is a first. We got to make the little mistakes to get it. Beautiful. Okay.
Again.
We're out of the same room, but same start over. Let's go. We're here in Petawawa. We're at BC Athletic Therapy, and we have VC as our guest. So Victoria, welcome. Appreciate you taking the time. We've spent the afternoon together in some amazing parts of this province. You have an amazing practice here and a great space as well. So let's go through your story. Just take us kind of from where you started and where you're at now, and then we'll get into some of the nitty gritty.
Okay, I started off as a high school rugby player. I loved rugby so much. I ended up injuring my knee and going to physiotherapy and learning about rehab. And it wasn't until I started rehabbing myself essentially on ice and with my little brother that I got really interested in how the body works and how to build muscle and how much the body can do. And so I ended up going to Fanshawe College for fitness and health promotion to begin with, and I did not like it. But I met an athletic therapist, and I was totally enamored with him and all the things he was doing with athletes and how they were hanging on his every word, but they were active in doing their homework and they wanted to be better. And that was the group of people I wanted to work with, because I found as a personal trainer, not everyone that comes to see a personal trainer wants to get fit. And I liked the group of the type of people he was dealing with. And that's when I decided I wanted to be an athletic therapist. So
Good girl, Ella.
And I decided that I needed to get all of the hours to go overseas. I was also an Army reservist at that point, and after 1 year of school, I decided to put school on hold and deploy on a peacekeeping mission with the 3RCR here in Petawawa. And I was in the infantry, and at the same time, I wanted to collect my hours to get into athletic therapy, so both field and clinical. So during my deployment, I was able to work with the battle group rugby team and collect my field hours. And then upon my return, I was able to get my clinical hours. So by 2002, I was at Sheridan for athletic therapy. It was pretty wonderful to kind of blend both the military and the athletic therapy together. I was a big believer that we needed athletic therapists in the Canadian military for sure. Just because going through basic training, going through my courses that I went through, and eventually my leadership course that I needed, was that we needed athletic therapists in the Canadian military.
What are you doing?
So I just thought that maybe we could have them in the military. So when I did some placements and some work for the military, I was able to work with different teams, so Taekwondo, soccer, and national life saving throughout the Canadian military, but always as a medic. So when I came back, I realized that a medic was probably a little bit better fit for athletic therapy. So with that, I decided that trying to do presentations and get athletic therapy recognized in the military, I ended up working in the physiotherapy department as a physio assistant for years, and actually just started treating from home because it was less of a hassle. And I ended up going to World Taekwondo in Valcartier, Quebec, where I met the US Army Taekwondo team. And I, at that point, had 2 children, working as a physio assistant. And I asked these guys, like, listen, I need to get national, international experience. I want to go to the Olympics someday. I want to be working with national level athletes. I really liked the amateur athletes. Like, I had worked with some junior A hockey players out here. I liked high level amateur. I really loved the high school kids. I really liked that age group. I felt like everyone was doing it for the right reason. And these guys were fantastic. I really enjoyed working with them at this event, and they invited me down to Colorado Springs to work their national selection. So after I did that, I went down and worked their US Army team selection for the US national team. So just getting to work at Olympic Oval with them. And when I was in Colorado Springs, the Canadian women's wrestling team was there without a therapist. So they were doing a dual training camp with the US team. And I was approached by their coach, and he had asked me to look at some of their athletes. So this was a pretty awesome thing, that when, you know, an Olympic coach asks you to look at some of their athletes, that you're like, yeah, sure, yes. So in between fights for the US Army, I started treating Canadian wrestlers. So I was just literally like running back and forth between the two. And then when I finished my time with the Taekwondo team, I was asked to stay and do the rest of the camp. So went down to Colorado, took a chance. got myself down there, and then came back, signed with the Canadian team. So pretty wonderful to be kind of picked up on the spot for your skills, for what you're able to do. I mean, you know, when are you going back to Petawawa? I'm like, never. When do you want me to stay here forever? Like, I'm in, like, yeah. And it was surreal. And I remember just, I couldn't believe that an opportunity like that had presented itself. But my work with the military led me to that, you know, and it's not in place at the right time. It took a lot of, didn't happen right out of school. You know, it was in my early 30s that happened, and well after graduation, but, you know, plugging away and taking the steps to kind of be at these competitions, regional, then national, then international. So it was a process, but it paid off. And, you know, 9 years later, I've been to 18 different countries with the Canadian national team. I've been to 2 world championships and 4 Pan Americans. And when COVID broke out, my youngest daughter, Ella, and I were actually at Olympic qualifiers in Ottawa, and the weekend before at Pan Am. So, I mean, up until this whole thing came together, or came to an end for athletic therapy, for once, we were doing you know, field work right up until then with the national team. So yeah, and
no, it's been it's a crazy journey, and it's amazing. Like we're just up the stairs from each other here, and we've had the afternoon together. So just to provide some context, I drove up here to hang out, and found this little gem I didn't really even know of in terms of Petawawa. Then we spent the afternoon in Deep River, just 15 minutes down the road, and I think that's analogous with you. You know what I mean? Like. I talked to a couple of people that didn't know who you were in the AT world, and the idea here is very much to connect people that are like-minded and driven, and can really push this profession within it as well as outside of it. And I think sharing your story and your vision and where you've come from and who you work with and all of these things, like common themes on this platform, have very much been being in the right place at the right time. But it's not just about being there, it's about putting yourself in those situations where you can be successful and people can recognize your value, and you can do the same. So no, some awesome stuff. And as we're getting started trying to get set up in here, just I thought I was hearing knocking on the wall, and then Victoria said, nope, that's not knocking, that's what is it? Is that rifle fire? That's gunfire.
Yeah. So we're right outside Canadian Forces Base, Petawawa, and he's like, someone's knocking. I'm like, that's gunfire. You're gonna get used to that, James. So literally in the background, you hear it. That's
ignorant city guy. Ignorant city guy had no idea, and when he's on a military base, that there would be gunfire. But no, it's an amazing space, and you spend a lot of time working with the military now, right? And one of the things that we talk about in the AT profession and in professions in general in this performance space is who has coverage, who doesn't have coverage, who has insurance that's going to pay their bills for them, who's paying out of pocket, and how am I ever going to make a living if AT is not covered by insurance. That being said, the military, as you touched on briefly, and we talked about this, doesn't have, you know, full coverage, at least if any, for AT. Yet you're here in a military town, city, and you see primarily military personnel. So I think that's a huge lesson, and maybe you can kind of, I mean, your work speaks for itself, right? And that's kind of how you've driven your business. You don't do any marketing. You are this, this hidden gem that's like Petawawa embodies you. You know what I mean? There's not a lot out there in terms of anything other than strong reviews person to person, and you've put yourself in a situation to be successful. So maybe you can touch on like your business side and how the military, your experience, and how you drive things from this end.
Well, I think it really is about making connections, just like any athletic therapist does. You get connected to your team, you get connected to your players, your athletes, and you become close with them. 10 years later, I'm still treating the same soccer players I was at soccer nationals. You know, when they have access to physiotherapy and some of these military services up on base, they still come. They pay out of pocket to come see us. So, I mean, something to be said. I don't fish for them, they come to us. So they remember me from my medic days, either like at nationals. I was sent to 9 Megan Holland to work as medical staff and they remember me from there. So it's just building connections and building relationships with these people. And all you have to do is a good job as an athletic therapist, really, and people will come. And we get the best ones. Every single person that walks through the door has the intention of getting better. You know how nice that is for me? That's so lovely. It makes for such a wonderful workplace. And I mean, when I have special forces guys or guys that want to join the special forces, they're like, "You're the selection girl." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Let's do it. And I'll watch them run. I'll watch them lift. I'm taking a look at the mechanics, trying to find the why and educate, understand why this is happening and how we're going to fix it. So the buy-in is there. These guys are super, and girls, super body aware. They're able to convey the puzzle pieces to us. And as therapists, we're putting it together. And it's growing and learning with them. They're teaching us all kinds of things about their jobs, about their sports, about the realities of what they need to be able to do. So it's wonderful for us because we have to stay on our game. So we have to be up on all of it.
Yeah, and you talk about a bunch of different things that I think people need to hear in terms of running this practice. Maybe we'll start with, let's backpedal, and as I walk through your clinic, you know, you have multiple rooms, you have multiple practitioners in here. You're a big and firm believer in empowering those that walk through your doors. Let's start with your personnel in terms of who's here and what types of practitioners you have here in your clinic. Who are they in terms of their backgrounds, and how does that multidisciplinary approach help and work in your space?
Wonderful. We have 2 athletic therapists. So we have Ian, who has 10 years experience, a heavy hockey background, strength and conditioning background. So, and that was, he actually grew up in the Ottawa Valley, moved out to BC for 8 years, worked a lot of high level hockey, worked at SFU, and then saw one of our videos and from my paddleboard of why are you paying, you know, double in rent when your mortgage could be half. Here I am on my paddleboard, and Ian saw this video, this Instagram video, and he ended up driving across the country, coming back to the clinic to live and work in the Valley, because why not? And before you knew it, he was sitting on the bench of the junior A team that's here. And he was working tons of events with me and building his patient load. We have Sarah Campanico, and behind me, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a ton of awards from Sheridan College here. This is Sarah Campanico, and she is just the recipient of the CATA Rising Star Award. So if any of you had seen that, she is a newer therapist, so 2 years out, but fantastic work with concussion therapy, writing meditations for her patients, you know, getting up on the latest and greatest. She has a huge interest in body work and energy work. And, you know, we're not calling her a rising star for no reason. She might be newer to the scene, but just a wealth of knowledge. We have 2 fantastic massage therapists, Sarah and Tara. Sarah's actually a strength and conditioning coach as well as a massage therapist, and Tara has 10 years of experience, and both of them give out homework, stretches, strengthening, what they should be doing. They cross-reference with us all the time. So, I mean, this is not spa. These are not spa massage therapists. They're getting people moving. And we can't do our job, especially concussion rehab. These massage therapists are integral parts of our concussion rehab. They cut my work in half by taking care of a lot of the whiplash. They're able to convey what they found to us, and it's just as much as we're conveying with them. Like, what do you think about this? I mean, I love getting their opinions and feeling what they feel or being called in. And Dr. Melanie is our very thorough, very experienced chiropractor that just joined us last year. And it's a wonderful addition to have her come in. And she takes time and speaks to people about what they're doing, what they're eating, how they're moving, how they're living. And it's a really wonderful multidisciplinary clinic. We do not have any modalities here. We're using our hands. We're doing biomechanical assessments. We're working in together. And our therapists have, really expressed that they like that they like working as a team, that they're never left high and dry, and that, if we're doing a special test, call in another therapist just to get another second opinion or a second set of eyes. So it's been a really wonderful experience. And the dynamic I have right now, I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them, just even in the past week, of helping each other when, someone had to isolate because they were in a place that somebody could have been a positive test for COVID-19. They came together. We took each other's patients. We covered each other off. Like we are each other's counterparts. It's wonderful. So
yeah, no, that makes a massive difference, especially with interdisciplinary, right? Like there's no territory of patients, right? It's back and forth. It's using each other as resources, and that really epitomizes that patient-centered model, right? Like if it's about us as the therapist, we're in the wrong business, and if it's about our patients, then we should be able to share information, and I'll validate the no modalities. I'm in a separate room. There's none up here. I checked over my shoulders. And I think that's also a piece maybe you want to touch on, like the TLC factor when we're working with patients, and like just waving a wand of ultrasound, or like plugging somebody in so we can get the next patient in. Sometimes that's a reality in a busy space, but the hands-on approach, regardless of if the therapy is the highest level or you're just out of school, like getting your hands on somebody else is immediately building trust, right? And so that's where everything starts and goes from there. So is that part of the factor, the no modality factor in here for you in terms of how things run, or is it just kind of been, yeah?
I think the no modality, and not that I'm against modalities. I just took my daughter to laser therapy at another clinic. We definitely have, we refer out sometimes for acupuncture, laser, shockwave therapy. Not that I don't believe in lasers. I just think in our approach in this clinic right now, we want the hands-on approach. It's important for us to feel the tissue. It's important for us, for the patients, to have hands-on, because especially with COVID, 2.5 months of this clinic was closed. And the first 3 patients I have were almost in tears because some of them hadn't been touched in months. Like it was amazing. And, they were just like, one of my concussion patients had already been off work for 2 months. So no one had touched him for 4.5 months. No other person. Unbelievable. So the touch factor is huge, and it needs to happen. We are not islands. We are not designed to be alone. We're not designed to not interact. We're meant to be creatures that work together, that are together, that do touch each other. So, I mean, I think that just, coming back after being off for 2.5 months, you realize how much people need this.
Yeah, the manual part, right? Like a lot of practitioners are slowly making their way back in. And the nice part is we handle the sanitary components of things on a regular basis before COVID or in a pandemic or outside of a pandemic. But the next part is, again, rebuilding that trust and understanding that, the hands-on is a big part of therapy, right? Manual therapy depends on that touch factor and all of those things, right? And so I think those are huge points. And you also, in talking to you this afternoon and a couple of times I've had the opportunity to speak with you, you've talked about, like, also you have a manifesto with your staff, right? Like with your patients. I think that's the coolest thing, right? Like it lets everybody contribute, and maybe you want to, if you feel comfortable enough doing so, just kind of like, how did that process work, and what is a manifesto when you're working with other people in a space like this?
Well, I actually employed my friend Ruth, and she's here today. Hi, Ruth. And so Ruth has a strong marketing background from New York City when she was doing a lot of those things, but she was the one that brought it up of like, what is your reminder? What is your war cry on the days that you forget? What is reminding you why you are a therapist? What is the reminder for our patients on why they are here? So that was the point of having a manifesto, so that when you walk into the clinic, and James, you had pointed out, like there was some artwork on our wall, and maybe we'll go take a look at it later, but the VC athletic therapy patient manifesto is that these patients are active participants in their own recovery, that they're going to be empowered by their therapists to have tools to help get themselves better, that they aren't rigorous. So I think you're showing them now.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You heard your echo going by, but I was going to flip this over because you can see the manifesto as soon as you walk into the clinic. I think it's amazing. It kind of showed it at the beginning, but see if this is capturing it. Can you see it?
Here we go.
And like, that's an amazing thing that everybody has access to as soon as they come in, as soon as they're sitting down, as soon as you come into work, you can read it on your way in, you can read it on your way out. And I think like that goes a long way in formulating and capturing your values, right? I think like that's massive.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And it reminds our patients, like, it's like we can do the work on, like the therapist can put their hands on you and do the work, but you're cementing it in place with the homework. And we almost quiz our patients. Do you understand why you're doing this? Do you understand what's wrong and how we're going to get there? So they're not just coming in and we're just working on them for an hour and they leave. It's that they have things to do to maintain it, and they understand why and how it fits into the big picture. And it's not just about exercises. There's been a ton of work about changing habits and lifestyles. And again, the people that walk through the door in that clinic, they may already have an active lifestyle, but like, is the holistic component happening? You know, are they happy in all aspects of their life? Like, so we're not just treating an injury, we're treating an entire person. So it's great that you're, you know, doing all your exercises, but you're putting horrible things into your body. You know,
right.
You're not, you know, you know, your jaw is so tight right now, and we can barely open it, that a dentist will send a patient to me because their jaw is so tight. And I'm like, listen, I can do this work, but like, what are you holding back and saying? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you know, this is what we're talking about. This is your expression. You are not expressing yourself. Tell me in your life what you are not telling someone else? And they're like, I need to tell my family this. I need to say this. And it always comes out. Like, there's always an emotional component. And do they need to share that with me? I'm like, maybe not, you know, if we don't have that. But I'm like, I want you to stay with this. And like, even if you journal, like maybe you don't have to tell me, you need to get this out of your body. You need to like go through why this is happening. Because I can sit here and treat your jaw, I can sit here and treat your neck, but if you're not doing the homework, which isn't just neck stretching and chin tucking and postural training and mechanics and ergonomics, it's going to be, you have to have some of these tough conversations. You're going to have to address some of these things. We're going to have to do some breathing work. Like, are you using your fight or flight muscles to breathe, or actually your diaphragm? You know, are you a mouth breather? Are you breathing through your nose? These are not things, you know, I learned in school. These are things that have, you know, come through continuing education through Ian, our therapist. He is always reading the most interesting things, and he keeps me engaged and recommends books. And my friends and colleagues all over the place are always recommending books and recommending things. And it's wonderful to have those kind of those recommendations and connections on those. So I feel really grateful, very lucky. But I do think that our therapist manifesto has to be revamped after COVID. I definitely think that the things that we thought were important to us before COVID are different. So I would definitely like to have Ruth come back and work with my group again. She has this wonderful way of pulling out the values of what actually was important. And what came out of our last session was that they really want to work together. They love when another therapist called in and we're working together on someone. Sometimes it's just as simple as doing a suboccipital and a sacral release together. You know, sometimes it's like, hey, can you check my leg length discrepancy? Hey, can you take a look at this? And to have that, I try to make myself as available as possible to them, right? And however, we're working on condensed hours right now. Like a lot of them want to work like 3 heavier days rather than 5 sporadic days. So that's kind of led to, you know, us kind of, we're actually having some good overlap. That's for sure. But I'm working a lot of mornings and afternoons, and they're working afternoons and nights. But so there is an opportunity for overlap for sure. But I definitely think, you know, being away from each other, we realized, or at least I realized, how important to be a part of this team, our team is. And I'm definitely thinking we need a revamp because I feel like everyone feels differently now. So that is something on the horizon for sure. So I can't really share what that is because I'd have to have my whole team here to figure that out.
Absolutely, but when you do, maybe we can figure that out and share that, because I think this is massive, right? Like a lot of places don't do this, and everybody's a cog in the wheel, but the wheel gets bunged up when there's not communication, and when the parts aren't working together or succinctly or feeding off of or scaffolding with each other, right? And I don't know, I think it's beautiful. I also think like during COVID, this is all of humanity needs to revamp its manifesto, right? Like this is an opportunity, although it's hard and all these other things. We've talked about it numerous times, and you were kind enough to introduce me to Ruth, and that's where we spent the afternoon, and just having resources and having that echoed in your world, right? Like what you reap, you sow, and what you put out into this therapy world and everybody who comes through the doors, I'm sure is externally as well as internally grateful for everything that you do for them, because you put them in a space to you facilitate.
You know what? And it's like the people watching this, I want you to know that we didn't actually have all the answers. Lots of my therapists felt like imposters. They're like, we don't actually know what our values are. I'm like, that's why we're doing it. Okay. Like, that's why we're here. Because they didn't have the answers. Like, I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of feeling unsure about this. I don't know what it is. And once we were able to kind of work through that really tough week in between sessions, was like, what is important to me? What do I want? What direction do I want to go? You know, and it made a lot of our therapists, it breathed life into them, because they were just like, oh yeah, like I do want to spend time with my family. I want to have a better work-life balance. Like, you know, I want to pursue some of this firefighter stuff. I want to pursue, you know, some of these other qualifications to balance my life. And it was such a wonderful exercise. I recommend, you know, having personal manifestos. I'm still working on my roof. I'm still working on it. Okay. She gets me on it. It's an evolution. So, it's constant, right? But like the patient manifesto for us, it flowed so easy. What we wanted for our patients, and that, you know, we remind our patients that is their manifesto, and that ours is that we're on a healing journey too. We're on a healing journey. We're on a journey as therapists, and that we can lean on each other, that we can access each other, and that we're not alone. We're a part of the team for a reason. And I think that COVID really highlighted that. At least it did for me. And I think having Ruth come back in and do some work with us again will kind of solidify what that is, because it is not the same world it was when she worked with us before.
Yeah. And I think even in clinical spaces or for students who are in therapy programs, chiropractic college, wherever, just trying to wrestle with the fact that you may not have a value or a vision statement or a personal manifesto at this point, but really starting the process of trying to figure out what that is goes a long way, you know, and it comes with, certainly with the school giving you some foundational pieces, but after school, you know, years and years and a bunch of different CEUs, you start to, you know, notice common trends or threads or things that you connect with or don't connect with. And then that comes into the workspace amongst other people. Like it's such a great way to go and create an inclusive space where everybody's contributing to what that vision is, right? And that's how teamwork is meant to be, and that's how you create the most optimal space for everybody, right? And it's being lived by each person who walks through the door, which is authentic.
And I think that, like, as athletic therapists, most of us started off as athletes, you know, and that we had those moments. I know as an OFSA level rugby player, and, you know, those were my people. I belonged. That is something, that teamwork, that no look pass. That's what we want, right? That you can, you know, your person's going to be there. That's what we're striving for the rest of our lives. You want that in your workplace. You want that in your relationships. You want the no look pass. And I mean, I think if you can get on the same page and convey what you're looking for and what makes everyone feel good, and if you can make that happen, you know, the artwork that you're seeing is done by our office manager, Dawn. You know, she used to be a professional hockey player. She told me, like, I want to run this clinic, and I want to, like, I wish one day I could have a gallery. I'm like, put your stuff up here.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful work. And this is someone that cares about our clinic. You know, she might not be a therapist, but she was an athlete. She knows what it's about, and she loves her job, and she really wants to see success in each one of our therapists. So
amazing. And it's riddled just through the conversations we've had, and even in a place that doesn't have anybody else in it right now, like you can feel it when you walk in. There's great energy, and there's success, like, just built into the feel when you walk in. And I think that comes with
we're also beside a giant river, just so you know, a raging white water river is right beside us.
yeah, that environmental factor as well as
that too. Also that.
Yeah. Anybody who hasn't met Victoria yet, I'm sure she'd be more than willing to connect by email, or if you get a chance to come up here and visit post-COVID or following COVID regulations. This is a pretty cool place, and you know, just in the conversations that we've had, I've learned so much from you and just about you, and to be quite honest, like, I wish I had known you 15 years ago, you know, and then who knows what could
I was
happen.
a very different person 15 years ago.
Either way, and I think that brings us to the next point. The next point is very much like, this didn't happen overnight, right? Like, this, I think in school, you and I talked about this on your back deck today, was very much like, you have three options when you're coming out of school. You're going to work in pro sport, you're going to own your own clinic, or you're going to take Cindy Hughes's job, you know, that she was the head of York University, or you're going to take somebody who's already in a university or college setting, and those are your options for work. And this is you know, years in the making, but a vision that has come to fruition for you, and it's an amazing thing to see that there is so much in between those three different jobs. And I think we can do a better job as professionals, like people that are in those spaces in between, of housing and showcasing what athletic therapy is and can be. You work with some of the if not the most elite of the elite, those that are in charge of protecting a country, protecting you know, civilians, and all kinds of things with the military. Like, that's pretty important work, right? And as an athletic therapist, again, coming back around, there's no insurance for these athletes seeing you, but they're coming to see you, right? So it's out there, it's available. You start by making connections, you start by being in places and out there and following your passion, and it comes around to this totalic vision of what you are now embodying here in Petawawa, right? Like, this is a fantastic spot.
I think that in school, I do remember being a little bit cutthroat for placements, for those kind of things. I never felt competitive that, I mean, maybe jokingly with like Joey, you know who I'm talking about. He works for the Windsor Spitfire. It was a little bit of a joke that it was a competition. We were always going for the same ones. He would always win. But like, other than that, like it's not a competition. I mean, if you're following truly what your heart is, if you're following what you want, it didn't seem like I was running the same race as everyone else. I wasn't competing for the same placements. I was thinking Queens and Carleton, and it just so happened that Carleton hired me. And in my new grad head, that was the best. I was working in an athletic therapy clinic at a university. This is wonderful. I just wanted to do all field. I'm such a field therapist. I really had no desire to work in a clinic. And I had my children right out of school. I had my daughter just months after, or days after receiving my certification in the mail, I was pregnant. So, I mean, that put things on hold for a bit, but it also allowed me to get 2 maternity leaves from my civilian job on base. And also I took a maternity leave from the military. So, you know, had my kids right off the bat, right out of school, and put athletic therapy on hold for a little bit. So people don't realize that out of school, I wasn't actually treating right away. So there was a pause when I had my children, and I spoke with Ann Hartley when I found out I was pregnant. And Ann Hartley, for those of you who don't know, she was one of my teachers at Sheridan College, and she had went on and done her doctor's of osteopath, and she wrote 5 textbooks.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
You know, she's absolutely amazing. And anytime she has, I just took her neural course in her neural flossing course in November for cranial. Absolutely amazing. And, you know, she just told me some of the best thing for me was like, enjoy your kids while they're young. She assured me that she never treated when her kids were really young. Yeah. She had help. She had help from her sisters that lived locally. She had help from her family to make it work. And, you know, and just taking that time to be with my children, enjoying my mat leaves, I never treated for those times. When I went back to work, I started slowly taking courses and buying books and slowly building this up. And then very, very slowly, only in 2010, started treating from home. And the clinic started from my basement, you know, with 3 patients. And one of them was a CNL engineer that was a mountain biker that had coverage for athletic therapy. And I was floored because he seemed to know that he had coverage for athletic therapy. I didn't seem to know that anyone had coverage. And it was really wonderful. There was a local firefighter, and she, even in 2005, when I first worked here, insisted I treat her because she knew what an athletic therapist was and had a firefighter competition. Then sent me her brother. And everything in this little town is who you know. And when you do good work, word travels fast. And yeah. I've advertised in ways that I sponsor a local soccer team. So yes, our name is on the radio when they win, when they lose, but they're saying VC Athletic Therapy but I'm supporting a team. You know, it's the kind of advertisements I'm doing is like if we're running a biomechanics course, like a running course, or if we're, you know, we have a seminar up and coming, that's about the kind of advertising that we're doing. We're not advertising what athletic therapy is. People are curious what it is because They heard from so-and-so because we treated so-and-so. And I mean, I have Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but the reason why people know me is because I put my hands on them. Because I met them at an event. We do 8 to 12 events a year here in the Valley. Anywhere from ski racing to mountain bike racing to there's several triathlons. There's a gymnastics competition, and we're there set up with our tables, putting our hands on people. That's how we built our business. And it's not through 1 million followers. It's not through those. And I mean, the followers will come also because they want to like share their, you know, their goals online, and it's nice to be credited, but really they're the ones doing the work. We're just giving them the tools. So I mean, that's how I built my business. It might be different than how maybe some of the business coaches say, but it's really from face-to-face meeting and having connections with them.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's amazing that you bring it up. And for me, I've just re-entered Canada and as a practitioner and have joined forces at a place in Toronto called Grit Athletics with a great strength coach in the hockey world and great strength coach overall. And in terms of building it outwards, the idea is not to get rich quick and close down in 6 months. You know what I mean? It's based on who is inside that building from a practitioner standpoint and who's in there on a regular basis that people can come in, depend on for good information and good outcomes going the other way, right? And you and I connect on so many levels in terms of like that, the value of education and the value of the why. And there's some great books out there that are trendy right now, like Simon Sinek and Start With Why, and like some other these things where you're digging a little bit deeper into the value system as opposed to the skills that you're offering or the titles that you hold, right? And I think that's huge.
Can I just show you guys something really, really quick? And I think it's really important. Okay. So
just read it. Just read it too, just because of the podcast, because they won't be able to.
So that just says Victoria Wagner, Sports Injury Management at Ontario College Advanced Diploma. That is my qualification. I am only an athletic therapist.
Yeah, but only in like cap and bold and underlined and filled with so much fire and passion.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Okay. And so I don't have my massage therapy. I don't have my CSCS. I do not have those. But I take courses as I can. I never in a million years thought I would ever be pulled into the osteo. Like I love it. I take the courses as I can afford them. I started with some up ledger courses, and then Laura Leslie from Concordia, wonderful athletic therapist, osteopath, Ann Hartley, any of her courses. Definitely, finding what you like and doing more of that. It comes out super excited to try these new things and implement them immediately. How many times have I revamped our concussion protocol after taking a course? Multiple times, constant growth and learning. I mean, it is important to go to school and learn the basics, but then it's lifelong. Like, you're not done after, like when you graduate, it's lifelong learning. And how far I've come. Not that Victoria treating in 2010 was doing awful treatments. She wasn't. She was doing stuff, but like coming so far and realizing like, wow, now I'm incorporating a way more holistic aspect to it.
Yeah.
So it's important to know that like you don't need a second qualification. Now I am being pulled in the osteo direction, and I'm definitely going to be an osteo when I grow up. My kids go off to university, but that's something I'm just kind of plugging away at. And, Anne told me that too. I told her that I was a little bit disheartened that I couldn't go into that right away because I was going to have my children. And she's like, I was in my mid 40s. My kids were teenagers. It's not going anywhere, Victoria, and that was wonderful advice, really wonderful advice to like not be in such a rush for all of it, that it's going to happen. And, I really cherish that. That's some of the best advice I ever got. And I'm glad I didn't miss out on my kids, and I'm glad I didn't, and my kids have grown up on the sidelines of so many events, like OFSA and pre-OFSA. We were, at everything. They've been to everything, and they just don't know any different. They've just been around it so long, they don't even realize that it's kind of like normal for kids to be knowing how to, recognize a fracture or something,
mobilizing people's ankles and stuff. Yeah.
Right. It legit happened. My oldest daughter did it in grade 1 when her teacher stepped off a curb and took off her shoe and tried to get her to move it. And she said nothing. She was like literally on the floor reading, and I got a phone call saying your daughter diagnosed a fracture. And I was like, what?
Amazing.
And she had told this teacher that she's going to go to the hospital. They're going to give her crutches and she is going to be in a cast. And the way she said it, I heard my voice, the way the teacher explained it. They said, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going on. That's how I speak to my patients, and the way this teacher conveyed it was the exact same way I do to my patients. And then I remember she's laying on the floor, like coloring or something. I'm like, Ava, like, how did you know it was broken? And she just looks at me. She's like, Mom, it was clearly broken. Like, clearly, duh. Like, like I've been here, and I guess, running a clinic in their house for 4 years, I guess they pick up on things, they do this, and, they're pretty wonderful little girls. I mean, they're not that little anymore. They're 12 and almost 14. And, but they're growing up in a clinic and growing up around all of it. So pretty wonderful.
Yeah, pretty awesome for them, and they'll look back on it, I'm sure, with lots of value as well, as they get further down the road, playing sports or not, or just being able to be connected to you beyond, mom and therapist and the go-to person in this town and in this province and beyond. And I think everybody listening or watching will pick up on just how passionate you are and how you would deliver your information. And I would encourage anybody out there to reach out to Victoria at some point and get a little bit more of her story. This is a short little snippet into your world and into your life, but so accomplished and so humble and conscious of others, and just like you hold all of the things that are valuable as a human being and as a therapist, and you just kind of I'm sure, like, you haven't treated me yet, but maybe,
look at him. Oh, isn't that presumptuous?
I just say at this point you're bound to cry. She will make you cry. She's known for it.
It's a bear in the corner.
Yeah, great. But no, I mean, like, it's amazing. And when there's people out there that are willing to share their space, their story, their time, their effort, and deliver information, like, this is it. This is, for me, this is the impetus of the Let's Chat platform, is to get people out there that are embodying athletic therapy in all of the spaces, and in a military town in seemingly the middle of nowhere. And then you come up here and it's just like, wow, what a place. And the fact that the military has access to you and your team and to this is truly, like, amazing. And I know you had shared a story about somebody who was working one of the marches recently that reached out to for your military backing, in terms of, like, setting up an EAP and things to be considerate of when they're working in like riot gear or amongst riot gear, and like such amazing experience that you had as a civilian and working within the military space. And, like, are there some I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there, like, a couple things that you would advise therapists that are just coming out versus therapists that have been in the game a while? I mean, you've touched on them already, probably, in terms of, like, continual growth, continual learning, revisiting some things. But from your military time, are there some things that have stuck with you, maybe more than others, that you want to share?
I would say, like, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know the right people. Your patient is the expert on their own pain, but they also know their sport. They also know, like, with my guys, a lot of the time I'll get them to bring their gear in, or as much of it they can. Teach me, show me how this is put on. A lot of the time I'm setting up their rucksacks different, right? Like, I'm putting a chest strap across. See this belt? You're supposed to be using it. That's why your back hurts, Taking a look at the ergonomics, the mechanics. If you don't know, there's definitely coaches, there's definitely specialists that you can employ to do this. I don't know everything, but I know enough people. Like, I can point you in the right direction. I can get this person to work with you. There's a local run coach that works with the high school, and we just employed her just sent one of our security guards that had a 2.7 kilometer run he was running with. So our athletic therapist, Sarah, met with them on the track and they helped train this guy. So like, does Sarah need to know every single aspect of running? No, but she learned a ton from that coach. So, you know, in the military, when I was in the infantry and you're teaching on a basic training, you're the subject matter expert. You know this weapon inside out and backwards. There's like only a few ways to teach it. When I became medic, I was teaching paramedics, doctors, nurses,
Right.
all around. And so I was an athletic therapist and a reserve medic, but like I was teaching a broader audience. And I just find the medical community is so, it's constantly evolving. After Afghanistan, that changed everything for us. You know, we're not pumping people full of IVs anymore. We're using quick clot, you know. War advances our medical profession every single time. It's not that I'm wishing for war, but the medical advances that we've since learned are huge.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're back to tourniquets. Why? Because they save lives. Because regular soldiers, maybe a mechanic, maybe, and I watched it, I saw guys after they were, you know, unfortunately blown up, have their limbs saved because the mechanic knew how to do a tourniquet. You know, I rehabbed these guys when I was up on base, you know, helping guys learn to walk and run again. It was wonderful. And, you know, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I had to, you know, ask for help and look up and research and employ the expertise of people that did know. And, you know, and the biggest thing is, I think that the patient has the answers within them. They don't always realize they have the answers with them. You know, working with an amputated soldier, he was one of the first ones. And I was like, and we're watching him run, kicking out his foot like this. And I'm like, why are you kicking out your foot like that? And he's like, well, because my leg's too long. When we took it off, you could see how bruised his stump was. And I was so concerned that it could be a blood clot, right? And what if he dislodges that? You know, is this, you know, this could be something. It took a few phone calls, a talk with his doctor who came in right away. His leg is too long. We literally had it fixed within days and he was running perfect, you know? Like, do I have to know everything? No, that was my first amputee I'd ever worked with, but like he knew his leg was too long, but no one had corrected it. You know, the patient has the answers. Our job as therapists is to try to get out as many puzzle pieces as we can and put it together. They don't even realize they're holding puzzle pieces half the time. Okay. Like, a funny thing is like, in the Valley, you will ask them in your history taking, have you had any high speed falls, car accidents, anything like that? And they'll say no. And then you ask them, have you been in any snowmobile accidents, any four-wheel? Oh yeah, actually, you know, I didn't even have my helmet on for and you're like, but that's the same thing, but it's not. Like, they're not lying to you, but they're like, to them, those are very specific, very different things. So like, I mean, know your audience, but like also know that like, it's not, they are the experts in their own pain. They know their body. They are already, I guarantee you, going into positions of comfort and going into positions of treatment. And you see it. They'll say, well, I feel better when I'm doing that. Well, you're essentially doing McKenzie protocol. You know, you're essentially you've already half figured it out. And if you can pick these up as puzzle pieces as a therapist, and it doesn't matter if you're a new grad or an old grad, you don't know everything. It's constant learning. And, you know, just, you know, stay really humble, be a lifelong student. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I learn from my new therapists. I learn from, you know, people that are fresh and new out of the program. It's wonderful. I love taking students, love taking it because it's a fresh set of eyes and it's wonderful.
Yeah, you bring up so many good points. I feel like we could stay on here for 2 hours, but let's not do that just for the sake of the space and having to get your daughter and all these things. But yeah, you bring up a couple things that I've touched on and I think are super important. And that's like the history taking always. I try to instill this in students anytime I'm talking to them, and also in my own life and petitioning, because that's an area where a lot of people take shortcuts. But really, that could be a year-long course in like how to take an adequate history and what we can take out of it, and how to ask the probing questions that are going to give us the answers that we need in terms of what we should be doing in rehab as well, you know. And the next part of it is like being humble enough, right? Like being humble enough to refer and ask for help and not have to be perfect all the time. And I think that's a hard thing for us as humans to admit to, but once we do, that comes back around to patient-centric care, right? Like you embody it. Amazing.
They appreciate it. Like we have a bit of a cutoff point that like, if you're not getting drastically better, like maybe you need an image, like maybe you're a surgical candidate. Or like maybe like there are some local osteopaths and pelvic floor specialists here that like, if I'm treating you, you should be getting better. If you're doing everything right, maybe it's time to employ this. We have wonderful community relationships with other chiropractors, acupuncturists, pelvic floor specialists, fantastic. And I mean, that didn't happen overnight. It takes time to build those relationships and time to, you know, it gets some of these people on board with what you do, but I just encourage it, like treat those people. Like if you're at an event and you're working with other practitioners, put your hands on each other. It's the best way to do it. You know, someone jumps on your table that is, you know, any of these other trade. You treat me, I'll treat you. It's wonderful. So I mean, that's just my philosophy, and I feel like I've treated athletic therapists and trainers from all over the world, and everyone appreciates a treatment, always. And you know, and they always say Canadian therapists are so manual. They love us. They think that, you know, Canadian therapists are, you know, so, and I feel like I'm not doing anything really earth shattering, but like maybe it just comes back to that human touch again, that they really want and need the manual therapy. They can stretch and stretch until they're blue in the face, but they just need that joint mobilization. They just need a little bit of this, you know, special touch to get going. So.
Absolutely. Let's wrap it up with that. It was a fiery ending, but let's call it. It's been about an hour, and it's been fantastic. And again, like I would love to connect you with as many people as I can that you can build into your schedule. I'm sure after this, and people hearing this on the podcast and watching this either live or on the YouTube channel afterwards, we'll be reaching out and looking for you. And maybe I've lifted up your rock here. I don't know, not that you're under one, but again, like a hidden gem up here in the middle of Ontario and Northern Ontario in Petawawa and Deep River. We got some stars to go gaze at. I think we can see those up here. So I'll pop back down there. I'm just gonna thank you again for your time, Victoria, for being on and allowing us into your space and your time and your practice and your life, to be quite honest. And it's been fantastic. And I'm just gonna make my way back down there so I showed the I showed the manifesto, but I didn't read it. So let me just pop back past your room and I'll read it for those that are on the podcast version. It says, "Welcome to VC Athletic Therapy, where you will be equipped with the tools and knowledge for your healing journey. We are all athletes of life. We bend, we twist, and sometimes we hurt. Be an active participant in your recovery. Trust your clinician to be your advocate and guide to achieving your goals." And I think that's a fantastic way to finish. And I wanted to thank you very much for your time. For everybody listening, live, archived, watching, all of this stuff has been fantastic. There's a lot of rich information. CEUs are available for athletic therapy students, well, not students, but certified therapists, through our website, firststartherapy.com /courses under there. And again, 10% of all memberships for the month of September are going to the Puck Support Foundation with Brady Leovold, and launching that thing in lieu of addiction and mental health in the sporting field. And we're coming up with a presentation for that in October. And this has been session 39 with Victoria Cleary. And it's been fantastic. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Coming all the way up here.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Right, so we'll wrap it up there, guys. And if you have anything for Victoria, please feel free to reach out to me. I can filter it her way, or reach out and connect. And we'll say goodnight for now and talk to you soon. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com, CONSULT@firststartherapy.com, on Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.